Hey guys, this is Alex Taldrin, and this is my final thoughts video on Xsyon, a MMORPG, a sandbox MMORPG from Notorious Games. The last two videos I brought you were first look videos. I had only been playing the game for a few days, and they were pretty rough. This time, I've been playing the game for about 2 weeks. I've gotten to see a lot more of the features. I've gotten to do a lot of the crafting, a lot of the hunting, the PvE aspect of the game, the PvP aspect of the game, and I've got some things to share with you. So basically, Xsyon is the player-driven MMO of 2011, as far as I'm concerned. It's a sandbox MMO, which essentially just means that it's a completely empty world. When I think of sandbox MMO, and most people would agree, I think of a game world that has not been touched by developers. And if it has, it's not in an active way. So, rather than seeing things like in World of Warcraft where towns will change or adjust over time based on what the developers want to do with the story, Notorious Games has crafted an entire world and said to the players, do what you want with it. We'll give you the tools, we'll give you the features to craft, to change the landscape, but other than that, you're on your own. So here we are, we're on our own. I'm walking on a road right now. In the last two videos, it was winter, and they set it to spring, summer, I'm not sure which, for the final couple days before they wipe the servers for the final time and launch the Prelude event, which will start tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when the servers will go live, and there will hopefully be no more character wipes, and that's it. The game will start. It will launch. The Prelude. The Prelude is essentially the time when players and tribes get to enter the game and start building the civilizations. Start building their homesteads, their tribe villages, their cities, their fortresses, whatever it is. And then the game is supposed to officially launch a little bit later. But, yeah. Spring and summer, completely different looking. I mean, this is the same area that I was showing in my first two videos, and it's recognizable, but I mean, it looks completely different. A lot of people think that the summer and spring seasons, and even the fall, just visually look more appealing. I'd have to agree with them simply because the snow textures, for whatever reason, just kind of blanket everything, which makes sense because that's what snow does. But it's very, very difficult to kind of differentiate between like hills and terrain, and also that's what snow does. So it just looked more barren before. Now it's very much it's just life. It's got life everywhere. So basically what I want to show you right here is a resource storage area that a tribe is building, the tribe I'm in actually. And this is an example. This is a perfect example of what happens when players get together to just work as one, essentially. This is what the game is all about. You can see stacks of wood here. You can see twigs and baskets that hold items in them, which we'll go ahead and open and show you. All of these clubs, this is a weapon container. So if you ever need a weapon, you come here, you grab a weapon. All these bundles of grass, you can do anything. You can weave more containers with grass, or you can build yourself some grass armor. You've got these little walls here, these palisade type of deals. Again, the transparent things are projects that have been started but not completed. But yeah, and then these roads that you see, I'm pretty sure these are player terraformed roads. And the interesting thing about player terraformed roads is that it affects run speed. Naturally, I mean, obviously. Which brings me to probably one of the coolest parts about this game, and that is that everything affects everything. If your player gets fat, it affects his run speed. It affects how quickly his energy decreases. If you're on a road, you run faster. Things like that. If you're hungry, it's your failure rate when crafting is higher. If you're thirsty, the failure rate when you're crafting is higher. Everything is constantly tugging and pulling at everything else, and that's one of the interesting things about Xsyon. The other interesting thing about Xsyon is that, I mean, it's a game that's about to launch, and it's a game that hasn't got a lot of coverage among the media, among the press, only in small corners. People who have dared to whisper its name and not get flamed on mainstream MMO forums. And yet, despite all that, its popularity in the last 2 weeks has skyrocketed. Not to the point where, 500,000 subs are going to be hopping on here. It's still a fairly small community, but it's a much larger community than it was 2 weeks ago. And people are finding out about the game, and they're intrigued by the gameplay features. As you can tell, even though this is probably the nicest looking season I've seen in the game, Xsyon is not for people that want pretty polished graphics or like amazing visuals or amazing animations or polished UIs or customizable UIs. I mean, you can't even like change the opacity or the channels you're in for the chat, at least not yet. So there are a lot of things that this game doesn't have that other MMOs do. But those things are secondary, because the gameplay design, the way the game is developed, that is where the game shines. To be honest, it really has the player driven everything at the heart of it. Everything from the economy to PvP to just everything. Resource gathering. As you can see, someone chopped down this tree, someone stacked the wood next to a campfire and put a container here. Just some random player in the middle of the thing. Now these things right here, these are junk piles. You couldn't really see them in the other two videos because they were covered in snow. But these are giant junk piles. And what you do is you come out here in these junk piles and then you gather these resources from them. And the interesting thing about these junk piles is that they're limited resources. Meaning once you gather enough of these resources, the area where you've just gathered will turn brown, which is just regular dirt. It won't have the junk pile texture, and you won't be able to scavenge for these types of resources again. Which is another interesting aspect of the game, because it forces players to come out and to basically fight, trade, or come to alliances to try and grab as many resources as they can so that they can establish a name for themselves or build their civilization, or just have resources so that their members can level the skills that they're trying to do. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, the ping up in the top left. I don't think I pointed this out in the last video, but I wasn't really paying attention. My latency to the server is always in double digits. Right now it's between 47 and 70 millisecond ping. I don't know about anybody else, but that's pretty much unheard of when it comes to MMO games and MMO servers. Generally, even pretty decent servers like the ones that World of Warcraft runs on, you never really get ping that low. Even if the server's in your region, it's always somewhere between like 150, 200 millisecond ping. And it's fine because you don't really notice it in a tab targeting game. But the ping in this game is really, really nice. Now, will that hold up tomorrow whenever the game launches? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But here's crossing your fingers, right? I mean, most MMOs don't launch without problems, and I don't know if this is any exception. I've got about a minute left. This is what I'm going to say about Xsyon. I've been playing it for 2 weeks. It's a crafter's game. But I'm not a crafter. If you like the idea of open sandbox worlds that change because of the things that you do, meaning you go and chop down a tree, it's chopped down for everybody. It doesn't respawn in 15 seconds so someone else can harvest it. An NPC doesn't die and then respawn. Of course, there are no NPCs in this game, at least not in terms of humanoid NPCs. There are no quest lines that everyone does and sees, and all of that stuff is just not there. Instead, it's whatever you want to do. If you want to be a solo player and build a homestead for yourself up in the middle of the mountains, and trade with tribes, you can do that. If you want to do that, build a homestead and then run around and kill people for no reason, you can do that. In the end, it's a player-driven world and a player-driven game. And it has a bunch of features to let you do whatever you want. The developers are really good with the community. They listen to the community. They're constantly adding features and actually listening to what the players want, which is amazing too. So if you really, really want a specific type of system and it's popular enough and enough of the community supports it, the developers will, chances are, look into it, and if they can, implement it. But that's pretty much it with Xsyon, guys. I mean, I really encourage you to check it out. It is $40, which may seem kind of steep when you look at a game that lacks polish, but really, come on. I know how MMORPG gamers are in general. You know, they, especially in the last two and a half years, getting burned on so many MMOs, from Star Trek Online to Age of Conan to Warhammer Online, possibly with Rift in like a month or two. Give it a shot. It's different. It's different. It's not drastically different. Other MMOs have done things like this, like Worm Online, but it's different. It's different enough to look at. The gameplay is solid. And so I encourage you to go check it out. Go to Xsyon.com, read the feature list, check out more gameplay videos. There's some great tutorials on YouTube as well for showing you in-depth looks at crafting systems. But if you like the idea of a game that is not a theme park MMO, I suggest you check it out. And even if it only lasts for a month and you decide to go back to something else, I guarantee you, you will not regret at least looking at it. So that does it for me, guys. I hope to see you all at the Prelude event tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. And if not, then good luck to you, but you're definitely missing out. So I will hopefully see you guys all in Xsyon. Thanks, guys.